All righty. Welcome to Parx Sportsbook presents Stick to Hockey Live. How about episode number 27? I can't believe we've done 27 since the reboot. And we love Parx, and they were a big reason why this podcast has returned. Live stream, whatever you want to call it. This hockey content has returned. Taryn Hatcher is going to join us in just a couple moments, but let me tell you about Parx before she starts. We have a ton to discuss today, by the way. A lot going on. We got to talk about Claude Drew, who she had to sit down with not too long ago. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the team. Talk about how hockey got its hooks in her, and much, much more. Working with Al Morgani, who appeared on an earlier episode of Stick to Hockey Live, and also Scott Hartnell, who've joined me on Flyers Daily on numerous occasions. So we'll talk about that with Taryn in just a minute. But let me tell you about Parx Sportsbook. It's time you download the app because you got the college hoops tournament going on, and that's so much fun to gamble on and get action on. And then obviously the hockey season and maybe baseball at some point, we shall see. Pro hoops as well. So grab the app, download it, put it on your phone, whether it's on your Android or your Apple phone, and just open up an account, you deposit, and your first bet is risk-free up to $500. You do not need a promo code, so you don't have to write anything down. And just grab the app. If you're not comfortable right away, grab the app and just kind of start looking through it, see how easy it is to navigate, see how easy it is to deposit, get fast, great easy deposit methods, fast payouts, the whole thing, and see all the different ways you can get your action in on whatever sport you want to gamble on, wherever you want to put your action, whether that's just regular old school, money lines, puck lines, points, spreads, whatever it is, you can do that. And check out all the different player props, same game parlays, player performances, you name it, teasers. It's all there, and it's all really easy to navigate and figure out. That's the fun part. You can combine different bets and get better plus odds if you feel really passionate about three different elements of a game or games or combination thereof, mixing sports, whatever it is. You can do that. You can get real good payouts and real good return on smaller bets as well. So make sure you check it out. It's the Parx Sportsbook app. Again, get it at the App Store on your phone. Open up an account and just simply deposit, and your first bet will be risk-free. So it's very simple to use. So you'll enjoy it, and it's very simple. So check it out, and make sure you follow Parx on all the different social channels, at Parx Sportsbook on Twitter. Follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well. There you're going to get tons of great content. Not only Stick to Hockey Live, all 27 episodes, but you'll also get the OGs podcast with myself and Harry Mays. You'll get great content from Natalie Eganoff, Sam Wilson, and many others. So make sure you follow them at Parx Sportsbook on Twitter, and again on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube as well. It's all there. Facebook as well. Sorry. And you'll get everything that you need that way, plus daily specials and much more. And check out the same game parlays. They're awesome. They're a lot of fun. And you'll see certain, bonus bets and specials you can bet on as well in particular games. So check it all out on the Parx Sportsbook app. All right, episode 27. Taryn Hatcher is going to join us in just a moment as the Flyers are yet coming off another win. Last Monday, we did the episode 25. Flyers are coming off a win, 2-1 win over the Washington Capitals on that occasion. And on this occasion, they're coming off a 4-3 win over the Chicago Blackhawks, which was, it's a shame because it was a day game. I love matinee games because they just feel different. They feel bigger in a way, too. That was obviously a national television game. But, you had a really good, entertaining game against Chicago. And I understand Chicago's not very good. They're not. And the Flyers obviously are in a season where they're not very good. But to have that game and be entertained with the physicality that was in the game, there were some dirty plays in the game. I really didn't like the hit that was made on Kevin Connaughton, and he left the ice, and I just didn't like that from DeBrincat, and I felt like there was a calling card. I thought that Rasmus Ristolainen was going to murder a man in that game. He got DeBrincat like around the throat at one point, but it had all the elements of an entertaining hockey game, and it was a win to boot. And it kind of put me into like almost a depression mode. I'm going, God, I wish this team was good and wish this team was going to play some meaningful hockey this spring. When it's warm out today, right? And hockey in warm weather is usually indicative of playoffs. And go into the game when it's warm out, tailgating, pulling into the building. I get there early before games, a couple hours before games, and seeing people outside tailgating already. I obviously can't tailgate. That wouldn't be good. But seeing people out there tailgating and getting ready for the games and everything is awesome. It's a lot of fun. I wish that was in the cards this year. It's not. It clearly is not. And nothing can change that this season. Where they go moving forward will be of the utmost interest, and will be interesting to see how they handle this situation now, just 2 weeks from the NHL trade deadline. 2 weeks from today. I mean, I remember talking about it like 6 weeks ago, going, we're talking about the deadline here like incessantly, and it's still 2 months away because it's March 21st. It's later than normal because the season's going to end later than normal because it started later than normal, and you had that built-in Olympic break. So, but now we're only 2 weeks away. We're 14 days away, and we're kind of counting down the games to Claude Giroux gets to 1,000. Now, he's slated to play his 1,000th NHL game if he remains with the Flyers on March 17th on St. Paddy's Day. That'll be a week from Thursday against Nashville at Wells Fargo Center. Could that be the last game for Giroux? Maybe not. Maybe the last home game for Giroux was actually the day before the deadline, Sunday, March 20th, against the New York Islanders. Or maybe it's in Ottawa, back in his hometown on March 18th. We don't know. But I have a feeling that he will get to the 1,000th game. He will be in a Flyers jersey for the 1,000th game of his career. And he'll get to have that moment, but it might be his final moment, not only as a Flyers player that will be dealt at the deadline. I usually do not believe that players will. It's very rare that players get traded at the deadline and then return to where they were traded from. So short of Giroux winning a cup, if Giroux were to win a cup, maybe that's a little bit different. I don't know. But overall, it's rare that happens. Now, Keith Tkachuk did it back in, I want to say, 04, 05, and was traded from the St. Louis Blues, as you can hear the trash truck pulling up outside, and was traded to from the Blues to the Atlanta Thrashers, and then went back and signed with the Blues after it. And oddly enough, when Keith Tkachuk did it, he was the same age as Giroux. He was 34. And obviously Tkachuk had a great career and was a great player and did return. But again, I think that's rare. Now, why is it rare? Probably because when a player turns the page, he turns the page. And if Giroux goes somewhere else, it's almost, I think, liberating in a way for a player to be in a different situation without the same narrative and pressures. Like, he's going to go to a team, whether it's Colorado, whether it's Florida, whether it's Carolina, and he's not going to be the face of the team. He's going to be an addition, maybe a really big piece, but he's going to be an addition to that team. And obviously, those teams that I just mentioned, Colorado, Florida, and Carolina, are really good teams already. So he's going to be a piece there. He's not going to be the face, and he's not going to have the baggage of how, the last 8, 10 years here where they haven't had a lot of success in the playoffs. So he can go there, play hockey, not have to be the spokesman and all of those elements. And I think that's liberating for a player. So returning, I think, is that's part of the equation and why players don't return, especially high-end players that were really attached to the city that they were traded from, like Keith Tkachuk was in St. Louis, like Giroux is here. Tkachuk did go back, but again, I think he's more the rarity than the norm for, NHL players to do that. It just doesn't play out that way very often. So we'll see what happens going forward. But first and foremost, the trade deadline's 2 weeks away. What are they going to get for him? What's the return going to be? Who else is going to be sent out at this deadline for the Flyers? Is it going to be Justin Braun? I suspect so. Is it going to be Rasmus Ristolainen? I don't know. That might be a coin flip right now, because Rasmus Ristolainen is a guy that, there's been some reporting out there that they want to extend, but he also wants to get to unrestricted free agency, which he's earned as a player coming to the Flyers on the final year of his deal, $5.4 million. He's going to be due a raise. There's no doubt about that. I know some people and a lot of the people in the analytics community don't want to hear that. And I saw this tweet from one of the analytics guys, Jay Fresh on Twitter, and they had this projected, I guess it's wins above replacement model that he has. And look, I'm when it comes to analytics, I think there's a place for it, obviously. But he had this tweet about Ristolainen and his WAR number, projected WAR number, and it was incredibly low. And okay, his analytics model has it that way and has his projected WAR percentage very low. And we know that his game doesn't translate to analytics. It's at 2%. And the lower the number, the worse. But there was a number there on his player card that he put out that says teammates, 93%. He was asked about that. And that's about quality of his teammates at 93%. Has he not watched the Flyers? He doesn't have great teammates. So almost his model goes out the window. Yeah, Travis Sanheim's been very good, but the team is lacking depth and players. So how do you give the guy a 2% projected WAR percentage in Ristolainen and say his teammates are 93%? Have you seen them play this year? It just lacks a lot of context. But let's get to Taryn Hatcher right now from NBC Sports Philadelphia. She joins us right now on the episode 27 of Parx Sportsbook presents Stick to Hockey Live. And there's
Hello.
How we doing?
Hello, I'm good. I'm going to shut this window really quickly because you can hear all of Philadelphia behind me right now, I feel like.
That's a good thing.
How are you doing? I was listening to you talk about the delights of analytics on here and the conundrum of Rasmus Ristolainen's analytics. One of my favorite conversations to have with people at bars around the city every time I see them. It's tremendous. I love it.
I got a text from a guy last week, Taryn, and he said to me, he goes, please tell me the Flyers didn't offer Ristolainen 6x6. And I said, I don't know that they have or they haven't. I don't know of, we don't know of any validity of any of that reporting. There's obviously interest in them re-signing him. And I said, okay, but you got to consider that number of 6x6 for a player at 27 years of age. Look what some of the D-men in the NHL have gotten paid, whether that's, Darnell Nurse. He's a left shot, but he got 9.25 on an 8-year extension.
What did Jones just get paid? 9 something? 10, yeah, right? Like, okay, I knew it was high.
Hamilton got 9. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, and those are right shot guys.
6x6. Again, I don't know anything for sure. I'm with you. I don't actually think that's what the offer was. I tried to figure out do you know what the initial source was on those numbers or no?
I know that Anthony Sanfilippo has reported that was like ballpark kind of where they were. And he was thinking he could get more if he went to free agency, and he might, but there's obviously risk in that. And,
right.
Does he return? He wants to win too, right? He was in Buffalo for all those years, which is a total gong show. And then he comes to the Flyers, and that's a total gong show this year. So he wants to, I get it, but, people freaking out over it. And again, it's the lack of context in some of the analytics communities' eyes. He brings a level of this team needs more physicality, not less.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think we always talk about this on the shameless plug Flyers Talk pod that we do over at NBC Sports Philly. We talk about it a lot where woulda, coulda, shoulda doesn't matter. But I would love to see what him and Sanheim's numbers looked like with an actual group of forwards that aren't, on any given night missing 6, 5, 4, 7 different players.
3 centers.
Because when we talk about last year and where things really went wrong last year, and Scott and I would talk about it, you can talk about defensemen having breakdowns, and they certainly did as well. But the forward group's defensive structure was bad, and I'm not saying it's this year. There's just so many different kind of holes in the ship to plug in terms of injury issues and AHL guys and COVID and coaching changes and whatever. But I would love to have seen what their numbers look like with Sean Couturier and Kevin Hayes being the first and second line centers, because it does change the way the defensemen play as well. And I think now you see the way Sanheim's getting involved offensively. And I do think some of that has to be some kind of
All right, we're back. My thing just
We're back. I was like, I got booted. Did you get booted too? Did we both get booted or just me? Is it my internet?
No, it booted me too. I was like,
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it might be my internet. That's on me. But yeah, so actually, like he used to practice at the skate zone, had games at the skate zone. I used to sneak up the stairs into the writers' room that I now work at all the time. So that was really like where I fell in love with hockey, was watching probably Kyle play before anything else. And then I can remember in middle school, I mean, was a Flyers fan well before middle school, but that was when I it became like appointment viewing for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the Jeff Carter, Mike Richards era, like the cool guys, like the Flyer cool guys all came in, and they were just fun to watch. And my dad had obviously like raised us talking about the Broad Street Bullies, and my uncle had season tickets through the 80s. So my mom used to I remember the first time I interviewed Brad Marsh, my mom was like, you have to tell him we used to go all the time back when Uncle Gary had tickets. He had the best head of hair. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to bring that up because Brad Marsh is incredibly bald now, but okay, Mom. So it was like kind of a weird thing because they were our number one. We were a huge college basketball house as well because my dad played college basketball. But as a family, like the Flyers were our first team.
Yeah.
And then when I was an intern at Comcast Sportsnet in 2013, I remember Marshall Harris saying to me, you should pick a specific job that you want to chase after, but then be flexible to do everything else as well. But it's good to have a target. And he was like, what would be the job you would do if you could do one? And I was like, well, the way like the Sixers have Molly Sullivan, or like Derek Gunn is on the beat for the Eagles at the time. This was back when I was interning there. I would love to do that for the Flyers, but that position doesn't really exist. And he was like, yeah, it doesn't, but I see what you mean. Like, you want to be a beat reporter for a team. And I was like, no, I want to be a beat reporter for hockey. Like, it's the best sport to watch. It's the best sport to watch in person. They're the best athletes to work with, and they truly are. And it's the franchise that I kind of have the most like connection to the legacy of them. Like, I was raised being very aware of the legacy of the team and the history of the team. And he was like, and I remember Marshall being like, hey, world's changing. You never know what could happen, but that's, just an FYI, like that's not really a position. And then it just so happened when I got hired back to NBC Sports Philly after I'd been there for a few months, I guess they had auditioned tons and tons of rinkside reporters. I didn't even know that they were doing that. And then they came to me just because they knew kind of my background with the Flyers in terms of like my youth. And they were like, is this something you'd want to do if you're open to trying it? We think it'd be a great position for you. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I thought this was like a thing that was never going to exist because there weren't a ton of rinkside reporters in hockey yet. Like it's still kind of it's not like a new position anymore. But even when I was announced, like most places had an analyst between the boards and an analyst up top. They didn't do reporters. So yeah, it's kind of been like a long-term thing. I never thought it would happen though, if I'm being transparent. I thought like, oh yeah, that's not how our broadcast is set up. So that's just not probably feasible. And then it happened, and then it turned into the studio job. But it's been like a long-term. As soon as Kyle started playing, and I can remember like seeing people get hit into the boards, and I'm sitting on the little bleachers at the skate zone, and I was like, this is sick. This is so cool. Like, and it was done. It was just a done deal.
You were hooked at that point. I'm going to send you another link real quick because it's not streaming live. So I just sent you another link. So click on that, and we're going to go to another virtual studio. So we'll end this one. I have all this. So I'm going to end this one. I'll see you on the other one.